Welcome to Apposite's Tech Talk, introducing TrafficJam, an easy way to measure network performance. Thank you for joining us today. To introduce our TrafficJam product, we have Cade Nelson, the Apposite Systems Integration Engineer. Hi, Cade.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. My name is Cade Nelson. I'm an integration engineer over here at Apposite. I've been in the networking industry for over 20 years. For those of you who are stateside, you may remember a company called Earthlink. I was employee number 57 over there in 1996, and that's where I got my start in networking. Today, we're going to talk about the TrafficJam network traffic generator that we are launching. And I'm just going to jump in. So on the agenda, we have who we are, why would you need a traffic generator, use cases for traffic generation, a live demo. In this demo, we're going to do a quick test to show you how to measure network bandwidth, saturate a 1 gigabit link to 80% capacity, and gather some statistics and run a report. For those of you who don't know, Apposite is a market leader in network emulation products, specializing in creating real-world network conditions in pre-production environments. We've been in business for 14 years, so we are not new to the network test game. We're based out of Los Angeles with 2,500 enterprise-level customers, ranging from entertainment all the way over to the defense departments across the globe. So our genesis story is we had existing customers that approached us looking for a low-cost, easy-to-use, accurate, and lightweight traffic generation tool. They found freeware tools could be a bit cumbersome, hard to use, not always accurate, and lacking in quality user interfaces. The enterprise-level traffic generators were very expensive. Our thoughts were, you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars for a good traffic generation product. So why TrafficJam? We're easy to use. You're up and running in minutes. We're accurate with valid TCP and UDP traffic. We're low cost, less than $2,500 US currency, lightweight, and portable. TrafficJam generates up to 1 gigabit of valid TCP and UDP traffic. It can run through your network and give you realistic behavior that other applications would see while running on the network. So there's no need for a long setup and configuration. You're up and running in minutes so that you can validate your proof of concepts. You can also use the TrafficJam to troubleshoot networks, validate throughput, test your protocols, saturate your networks, and verify protocol accelerations. One of the easiest tests our beta customer had was they were using Riverbed and Cisco WAN acceleration products. They would run our traffic acceleration, they would run our traffic generation, and then they would toggle on and off the Cisco WAN accelerator, and then they would toggle on and off the Riverbed WAN accelerator. And using our TrafficJam, they were able to verify which was the better fit for them. So there, you'll see two diagrams on this slide. The first one on the left is what we call a point-to-point configuration. This means that one TrafficJam is sending traffic to another TrafficJam, and this can be configured as one TrafficJam to many, or many TrafficJams to many, so they can mesh together and send traffic to each other. Another common configuration is the loopback configuration, and I'm going to get into a little bit more details with that in a couple slides. So our use cases, the first is network stress. Can your network handle a full load? How it will behave when all ports are working at capacity? Does anything strange start happening? Packet loss, buffer overloads, hardware freezing, things like this. You can use the TrafficJam to create the network stress. You can use it to validate bandwidth. Are you getting the expected bandwidth you're paying for? Some providers might guarantee a specific deliverable. Are you getting it? Are you getting your money's worth? A good example is a few years back, I was troubleshooting a 10 gigabit connection from New Jersey to Los Angeles, so across the United States, and they were paying tens of thousands of dollars a month for this 10 gigabit link. And as we sent traffic down it, we were only getting 6 gigabit, and it took a little bit of time, but with the traffic generation tool, we were able to find the problem in the middle part of America where just one setting was wrong, and this customer was able to get a refund on their money for those months that they were not getting full bandwidth. Another thing we could do is saturate the pipe. Will your mission critical application run if 80% of your normal bandwidth is used up? What's the minimal bandwidth that is needed for your mission critical application? Is it 20%, 30%, 50%? It's important to find out where your application starts to fail when it runs out of bandwidth. I always like to say it's best that you find your problems, not your customers. And this TrafficJam will help you find that. The other thing you can do is use it to validate network structures or changes. Did you make some big routing changes on your network? Maybe you switched from OSPF to BGP. Did something change on your SD-WAN network? You can use the TrafficJam to validate that your routing is up and running and working correctly. So this is the diagram we had a couple slides back. This is our loop back configuration. So in a real world environment, you would plug in LAN A on the back of the TrafficJam, and it would go into your network. And then out of another side of your network would plug into LAN B. So when we do our demo in a second here, you're going to see LAN A send traffic out into the network and then receive its own traffic into LAN B. So in our demo, this is the situation we've created. We have a TrafficJam here. LAN A is going to send traffic into our Netropy N61 product, for those of you who are familiar with our WAN emulator. It will then come out of our N61 product and into LAN B. So I'm going to go ahead and start the demo here real quick. Okay, this is our TrafficJam network traffic generator. When you first install it, it's going to open up into this administration tab. And this is where you can set your host name, domain, static or DHCP IP address, DNS servers, your network time server, as well as reset your password. The status is just a quick rehash of the settings. And then in the firmware, there's where you can update and reboot and find your current version. The next step would be to come into this Devices tab. So here we have our local host with port 1 and port 2, or LAN A and LAN B. If I wanted to add more devices, I could do this here by entering the IP address. And it would add, if I had TrafficJam 4, it would add another TrafficJam 4 here, and I could monitor and configure it from here. So the first step when configuring your TrafficJam after you've done your administration is to configure the ports. You do that by clicking on port 1. And on this TrafficJam, we have 3 IP addresses on one port. 10.0.0.10, 11.0.0.10, 12.0.0.10, and all of these are a class C/24 prefix. To add another IP address, I could simply just do give it the /24 prefix, and add it. Then I would apply changes. But I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, once you configure port 1, you're going to want to configure port 2. Now, port 2 might be configured onto a different network. In our demo here, they're on the same network. So port 2 has 3 IP addresses, 10.0.0.11, 11.0.0.11, and 12.0.0.11. Okay. There's some other settings in here. You can look at your Ethernet stats as well as turn on your negotiation speeds. You can look at the ART table for the port. It'll show you what's available on the network. Right now, this just got rebooted, so there's no ART tables in here. And then we have a Tools tab, which allows you to do a ping or a trace route. So I want to verify that I can ping from port 1, 10.0.0.10, to port 2, which is 10.0.0.11. So I'm just going to do 4 pings with the size of 64. So it's going to go do a ping and gives me my results here. So I can see that I'm less than 1 millisecond ping times, or about, on average about half a millisecond away. So we have a good network. So now I'm going to jump into configuring a test. So I go to the Test tab, and I'm going to create a test. I can click the plus button here, or on this screen, I can just click here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to give it a name. So I'm just going to call this bandwidth test, because I want to verify how much bandwidth I'm getting. So on the source address, I'm going to use port 1 as the source with the IP address of 10.0.0.10, and I'm going to send to 10.0.0.11. You can change things here if you want. So I'll do 2 TCP streams. I'll run it for a duration of 10 seconds because I just want to verify that I'm getting my full bandwidth. So once I've configured this test, which I've done, I can hit save up here to save the test. Or if I just go ahead and hit play, start, it'll actually run the test. I'm going to scroll down to get my results. And we can see that my 2 streams are running. And I'm getting right a little bit less than 1 gigabit. For those of you who can't see that, this is 1.00. Sometimes it's hard to see the dot right there. So I'm getting 1 gigabit speed. You'll see it's a tiny bit below 1 gigabit because there is a little bit of a protocol overhead, but we are getting full throughput. So I've verified that my network is able to do a 1 gigabit speed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my Netropy. For those of you who are familiar with the Netropy, this will look really familiar to you. I'm going to look at my throughput, and I can verify on my Netropy network emulator that, in fact, we did get 1 gigabit. So let's go back to the TrafficJam. Let's pretend my Netropy is a traffic shaper, and I want to make sure that my traffic shaper is working correctly, and I only want my traffic from 10.0.0.10 to get 200 megabits throughput. So I'm going to go ahead and configure my Netropy to throttle down my network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Netropy as a throttle, and I'm going to check that the throttle's working by using the TrafficJam. So I'll throttle it down to 200 megabits. Okay, now I'm going to run the test again. And we see that my packet shaper, my network packet shaper is working, and it's throttled my traffic down to 200 megabits. So I used my TrafficJam to verify that my traffic was being throttled down. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And now I'm going to verify that when I turned off my throttling, that it's back to 1 gig. And again, I'm just running the 10-second test each time. And now we see we're back up to 1 gig. So that was a TCP test. Let's do a UDP test and put a little bit more realistic data on the network. So maybe I have a mission critical application, and I know that at 4 o'clock every day I have a backup job that runs, and it backs up files from one place to another, but it saturates my network by 80%. And I want to make sure this mission critical application will run when the bandwidth is used up by some other traffic up to 80%. So I'm going to configure my UDP test to take up 80% of my pipe. So I'm going to give this a name. Okay. I'm going to give it 4 UDP streams. I'm also going to turn on jumbo frames. So I'm going to make my MTU 9,000, my datagram size 9,000, and I will give each one 200 megabits. And one thing I like to do is I like to change my transmit data from zeros or ones to random. So it's a little more realistic because most data is not going to be zeros or ones. So I set this to random. Okay. I go ahead and I hit start. I come down and I see I'm getting just a little bit under 800 megabits throughput. And this test, the duration is unlimited. So it's going to run until I'm finished using it, and I would stop it up here. So I'm going to verify, looking at the netropy, that I'm seeing this traffic on the network. Oops. There we go. So I see that the traffic is running and taking up roughly 800 megabits. So what I would do now, if I wanted to test my mission critical application, is I would run it, because now there's only 20% of my bandwidth available, and I would run my mission critical application and verify, hey, if I only have 20% of my bandwidth, my application will still run. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and stop the job, and I'll see that it's stopped. I'll see some statistics here, but let's go look at our results. So there's a little button here called results. It gives me a pop-up. And it gives me a quick summarization of the options. It gives me a quick summarization of each stream with its loss and averages, average loss. And then there's a lot of statistics, so I'm going to kind of scroll down this quickly. You have your throughput rates, your receive bytes, your packet rates, your receive packets, loss percentages, total packets lost, transmit bytes, transmit bit rate. As you see, there's a lot of different statistics in here. Another thing you can do is you can send it to your printer. I always suggest just saving it as a PDF so you have it on your desktop there, wherever you want to save it. So that's a quick demo of our TrafficJam network generator. It's really simple, easy to use. So let me give you a quick recap on the TrafficJam. The TrafficJam product ID is TJ1G. There's a 1 gigabit available now. If you're interested in higher speeds, contact us. It's low cost, less than $2,500. If you have some questions or want more information, feel free to email us, info@appositetech.com. And there's the link to our data sheet and other information available on our website. And now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If you have any questions, please use the chat window to ask some questions. There's a few different people on the phone that can answer your sales and technical questions. So feel free. Have there been any questions during the demo?
Yeah, our first question is it possible to mix TCP and UDP traffic in the same test?
Yes, you can. You can run multiple tests at one. You can do TCP, you can do two. I'm not sure what the maximum rate is. I think the only limitation is your bandwidth, but you can run multiple tests at once and mix them, TCP and UDP.
Here's another one, Tate. It's from someone who has, I guess they've been using a service provider that kind of guarantees performance. And one of the things they're guaranteeing is they can minimize packet loss, because packet loss can impact, I guess, TCP application performance. So will the tool help you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I would do in that situation is I would use our statistics report that I just showed you, and I would just send that to your provider, because it'll give you your loss percentage and your loss rates. So there are providers out there that guarantee zero losses, at least in the United States. I don't know about worldwide. But if you have report after report that proves this wrong, then you can just send it to them. And then another thing that I did in a similar situation, that 10 gig situation that I talked about earlier in the demo, was I let them log in and run the tool themselves, and they saw it in real time. So it was really helpful.
All right, another one. How does this differ in function and purpose from the Linktree Mini? And can TrafficJam be used alone?
Okay, yeah, so the TrafficJam was used alone in the loopback configuration. If I go back, in this configuration, this is one TrafficJam sending data to itself. And what was the first part of that question? I'm sorry.
How does it differ in function and purpose from the Linktree Mini?
Okay, so the Linktree Mini is a network emulation tool. It doesn't inject data onto your network. The TrafficJam is made to put data on your network, to stress your network, to verify your network, to find issues with your network, whereas the Linktree is just used to inject impairments on your network to emulate a WAN type situation. I hope that made sense.
So do you have any plans for higher speed?
Yes, we are very interested in hearing from people who need higher speeds. We definitely know we have the capabilities of going higher speeds. We're just looking for the sales opportunities for those higher speeds. Joe, you might have a little more information on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had some early requests for 10 gigs, certainly, and we've been doing some research on that. But please forward any requirements onto us, and we'll take a look at it.
And again, that's info@apposite-tech.com.
All right, another one is, can you set DSCP values for tests?
DSCP?
Yes.
Or Mike might need to answer that question. Yeah, but he can type us an answer. Let's move on to the next question. Mike, we'll repeat the question one more time if you can
Mike
give.
says yes.
Oh, Mike says yes. The answer is yes.
All right, another one is, it sounds like TrafficJam would be better suited to validate SD-WAN design and rules. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, and exactly the type of scenario we should be using TrafficJam.
Do you have any plans to support RFC 2544 or an equivalent?
I don't know what the 2544 is right off the top of my head. I think Mike would be the best to answer that one as well.
Yeah, I think what that is probably it's a standard for measuring throughput with a specific test procedure.
Okay.
And so we don't at this moment, but it's something we could look at in the future.
Okay.
What about, how does the licensing work for purchasing the TrafficJam?
You want that one, Joe, or you want me to take it? I believe it's a flat rate. It's very similar to the Mini, right?
Yeah, so it's just a low-cost product. There's no licensing involved. It's a one-time fee that includes 1 year of maintenance. So for $24.95 US price.
Great.
And how big is this product?
The product is about the size of, I would say, well, for those of us in the U.S., it's 5.5 by 6.5 inches. I would have to do the conversion to centimeters, but it's about 1/4 to almost 1/3 of the size of a normal laptop. Yeah. We'll say that.
And for anyone familiar with our Mini footprint or Mini G, it's the same platform. So it's very tiny, only weighs a couple pounds, extremely portable.
Yeah, it very easily fits in a laptop bag.
Do you offer any sort of initial training or how-to guides?
Yes, there is a video that is just about completed that's out there that walks you through kind of the same stuff I just showed you. There will be some quick start guides as well. And if you need training, just contact us and I'll be happy to work with whomever needs it.
Yeah, but one of the goals of the product, if you have just kind of basic networking knowledge, the product almost works out of the box. It's meant to be, you know, for years and years there's been this gap of developer grade, very high end, very expensive test generation solutions that are complex that you need training for, or the opposite end, freeware, but it's still complex to set up. We're trying to fill that middle gap of very low cost, but very high function and precision, but super easy to use. So anyone who has basic networking knowledge should be up and running about 5 to 10 minutes.
So I always like to say, those of you familiar with our NetGP and LinkGP products, you can plug it in and get it up and running in minutes. And I would say it's safe to say the TrafficJam is, if not a little quicker, but at least the same level. It's very easy to set up. It's the same setup scenario too, where you log in by changing your IP address on your laptop or using the serial port. You have a little command line, or you can use the GUI to set up the IP address and such.
Here's another question, Kate. I think I can answer this one. It asks, is it available as a VM? And the answer is currently no, but the platform was designed to move into a VM environment, virtual machine environment, very easily. So if you do have a requirement for it, you know, please let us know. And also, if we're moving our NetGP emulation product lines to the cloud to AWS. So we're also going to be investigating moving TrafficJam to AWS as well. So just reach out to us with what your needs are, and we'll evaluate it.
And I think our last question here is this product available now?
Yes.
Okay, and how would we order it?
That's a Joe question.
Yeah, so that you can either just send an email to sales@appositetech.com, or if you have just more general questions, info@appositetech.com. And or if you're an international customer, you can reach out to your local reseller, or if you have domestic, you can either reach out to the sales email or your direct sales representative.
Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up for us today. Thanks so much, Cade.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.